All right. Well, here we are. And I am Taro by Fergus, and today I am joined by Naomi,
Hello.
and we're going to be looking at some things, all kinds of things. And at first, we're going to be looking at these hurricanes. And so it was Patreon request, and it's so much easier for me to do these readings when there's another person. Like the way out shit kind of requires more than one connector point, right? So Naomi is going to keep me on the rails and make sense of whatever comes out here. But I guess without further ado, let's take a peek at the first question.
Do you
So
want me to
what?
ask you the question?
Yes, please.
Okay. Is Hurricane Beryl being created through the patent for hurricane and tornado devices? And that's the one that just passed over Jamaica.
Whoops. All right. I'm screwing around with the camera. I was trying to get the one where your face is little
Yeah.
and the
No,
cards are big.
as you're reading this, I'll add, I was looking at radar, and there are certain radar systems that do not pick up the hurricane, but then the radars affiliated with the NOAA show the hurricane. So there's some discrepancy in uh, the recording of the hurricane too, which brought me to look up the patent.
All right. You're going to be a disembodied voice for a little bit because I'm going to have to go full screen on these cards. Okay. So our root card here is a Five of Wands. Let's just see what the main card is. All right. Now, both of these are showing that it may be playing a factor, but there's a bunch of factors. So the Five of Wands here is basically showing chaos. So here there's five different things that are kind of fucking fighting each other, right? Um, and the Nine of Cups is showing just confusion. So both of them show lots of moving pieces. Now, um, to be more direct with the question, I'm just going to see how big of a factor that is, right? The patent thing, and we get a Knight of Wands. Okay, so the Knight is a military card. It's a soldier, and this would show that it is one of the factors. Um, that it's also an energy that would kind of show up quickly. It might not be an energy that's there all the time, but as far as the magnitude, the Knight of Wands is soldier energy, and it's energy that hits hard and fast. So the patent would be one of many factors. So first, whoops. All right. First, with what is here. So, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I think maybe the storm is there, and then part of the patent is like projecting sound waves onto maybe
Right.
an already existing system to help propel it larger. I'm trying to find, yeah. So
So, I'm just looking at the sound waves in particular right now. And this is a beam for sure, right? It's interesting because there's another card that would show like a direct blast of sound, but this would show some sort of beam that is being projected.
have you seen the patent?
A little bit, a
Okay, so
little.
the whole patent is these devices that are projecting those waves of sound to the cloud system that would already exist to create a hurricane or a tornado.
Well, it looks like that is a thing.
Okay.
So, the, however, looking back at this, it looks like there's a shitload of factors, right? It would be one of the factors. I think it's like if if you started pumping a bunch of water into a river, the water that you're pumping in would be just a small part of the river, right? So I think it's like there's a bunch of different things, and it's raining and snow is melting, right? It's like a bunch of different things are playing into this river, and the metaphorical flooding.
Mhm.
Um, and this is one of them, though. It
Yeah.
looks like that is a thing, and here it is pretty clear that it is being done by military.
Yeah. Well, and even I'm looking at the patent as you're reading, and the summary of the invention is it requires the recognition of low atmosphere weather systems near the Earth's surface that have the potential to produce those systems. So
Wow.
when the environmental systems exist, then they use this patent, which says when recognition is realized, mega generators are employed to produce high decibel sound waves, which sound waves are projected toward the clouds and rotating winds which form the low atmosphere systems.
I wonder if that has anything to do with the sky trumpets, right?
Oh,
All of those fucking crazy sounds that were coming from the sky. I guess I can pull a card on that right now.
yeah.
Like, are these two things connected? And I mean, I would not take this necessarily as a yes. Um,
That's something different.
it looks that way.
That's coming out of the Book of Revelations when the trumpets blare. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, at least that's what it's made to represent or replicate, right?
Yeah. Well,
I've seen videos of the ones that were happening in Israel, and that's definitely like it was made to replicate what was talked about in Revelations. But I've seen a bunch of other ones that weren't like that at all. Like they didn't sound like trumpets, they sounded like monsters,
wow.
crazy stuff.
Back to this hurricane thing, there were airplanes that were cycling around the hurricane, and they were saying that it was to measure it. Were those airplanes a part of the military action? Maybe not the patent, but were they monitoring it, or were they enhancing this historic level category 5? Hmm.
Well, what do you make of that? So the question being, were the planes there to monitor? Um, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
That
maybe that was part of what was doing the projecting. It's interesting because on the bottom we get this five of pentacles. Now both of these are showing this big structure, right? And here it's the church, and over here it's the prison tower. But the prison tower being destroyed, and we have a person outside of it. Here, I mean, they're falling, but here the person is kind of rejected by the structure. It's interesting. So the couple things that this would say to me is whatever the big structure is, those planes might be coming from a rogue agent, like not from the big structure itself, but from something that's kind of either been exiled from it or doesn't belong there. If you put both of these together, it would probably be something that used to be a part of it. So if that's the military, then the planes were not from the military. They were from some used to be military or
Mhm.
something like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I
Maybe
don't
they were
think
like
that the
rogue Jeffrey
planes,
Epstein Island people. They were
yeah, maybe, or fucking, some Bond villain or something.
yeah. Well,
I
and
guess those are the same, aren't they?
Russia has a bunch of ships in Cuba, so I don't know if they were. I don't know. I didn't see the type of planes. I just noticed there were clips of planes over the hurricane monitoring it.
I suppose. I wonder if the hurricane is going to go right at those ships that the
Well,
Russian
that was the
ships.
other question. Is that the intention to disrupt?
Wow. So let's see.
Yeah. Is Hurricane Beryl there to disrupt the Russian submarines and
This, I'm going to have to pull one more card just to give me a more solid yes or no. Um, boy, and neither of those really do. But here's the thing: the High Priestess shows up for all of this real secret shit, and the High Priestess reversed is when something that is very secret and hidden gets like violated. It would be um, whatever, if this is New World Order shit or whatever, it would be like that stuff kind of being exposed, or maybe seeing something that you're not necessarily supposed to see. But here, I wouldn't say either of these are a direct yes, but there are probably pieces that touch it. But that makes sense because if there's any secret, powerful, any sort of organization, that the United States military and the Russian military both touch it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't say that it was done for that purpose, although it would be affecting it.
Yeah, which it inherently would because it's passing by it. So so yes, partially these hurricanes and probably the tornadoes that are ripping through the south are partially generated through this patent.
Right. Yeah, partially.
Partially.
And I mean, it's like if there's 50 people pushing a block and you pick out one of those 50 people. I mean, that person helped push that block. They were a part of that team, right? But they wouldn't have been able to do it by themselves. And I think that is the case here. There's a bunch of things that are kind of coming together for it to happen, just like 50 people working together to push a giant block.
Mm.
But no single one of them could have done it by themselves. And I think that is at least what the cards are showing here. There's a bunch of energies that are coming together, conspiring, if you will. So
then I have the next question.
Okay.
I have 7 questions.
7 questions.
7 questions. Question number 2. What does Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan Chase know about the short-term future of the US dollar in the market? Is he, well, we'll leave it at that.
That is a whole bunch of fear. The reverse Queen of Swords is pretty massive anxiety.
Is he stashing cash and gold and silver in multiple safes in all of his real estate?
Let's see. Gold and silver. Ooh, that's right on the top. Okay, the reverse Fool. Well, maybe. I mean, this is still not necessarily clear to me. So the reverse Fool, here's the thing. The Fool would show the beginning of a brand new day. And in a brand new day, gold and silver would probably not have any value, right? You can't eat them. They're not the best for making tools, except for they work for electricity lining and whatever, wiring or whatever. But the Fool showing a brand new day would show a complete reset of whatever has value. And this thing being upside down, to me, this says that whatever it is that he is stashing is part of the old world, that it isn't part of the new world, So whatever he's stashing, if it is silver and gold, they might not help him. I'm just going to try to find out more specifically yes or no on the silver and gold. And that's interesting. We get the same card that showed up before. Um, this shows someone who is exiled and who, so here's the structure and here's the person that is outside of the structure. The structure would definitely show up for silver and gold. So I don't think he's doing the precious metal thing, or even if he wants to, I don't think he can. Like, I don't know.
Is it
It shows him being outside of some system.
Yep. So what is he, going back to the first card, the reverse Queen of Swords, what is he afraid of? What is that anxiety?
Well, I'm going to pull this. This came out super quick. I'm going to bring these back in. But as far as just as you say that, what is he afraid of? We get the star. Now, the star is the purification. The star is like the prayer that's answered. But let's see what else we get on this. What is he freaking out about? This is interesting because the reverse page of wands, this is like very sort of personal stuff. The reverse page of wands would show him not believing in himself, like not believing in his ability or not believing in the things that he specifically can do. Now, this makes sense to me if the actual value of the currency is about to plummet, because the people that have a lot of money can't necessarily hunt for food. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
they might not have any actual skills that apply to real life.
Well,
So
and your whole identity is around how much you've accumulated. And he's an incredibly intelligent man, and he's established his entire life around accumulation of wealth, right? The banking industry. So if it collapses, what is my worth, and what do I do?
boy, I kind of wonder if the star might be showing a flood too.
I think we're
No,
moving into. I think it's gonna. My gut is it's gonna totally collapse, and it's gonna be chaotic. But we're going to enter in a totally new place, and it's like purifying.
the cards do seem to be suggesting that a pretty major reset. But
Was really, really good long term.
right, for not the people who have a lot now.
Well, I mean, I don't have a whole lot, and I have that same reverse Queen of Swords, right? Well, what am I going to do if I don't have my job, or what do I do if I can't pay my bills? Because we're stuck in the old system. So we're all thinking the same thing, that fear of not being able to survive,
That's true.
regardless of how much you have,
I'm
because we're
just
stuck in the system that we somehow agreed to be in.
so I'm pulling an Are We Doomed card, and we get the Hermit. Um, and the Hermit, I mean, there's isolation in the Hermit, but the Hermit is remembering who you are after you have basically been gaslit or fucked with for a long time. This is a separation from playing other people's games. So it's not necessarily doomed, but this also would talk about a pretty big reckoning or a reset, you know, a great reset, if you will.
Yeah.
I
Um,
mean, really,
I don't know
COVID
if
did
we
this
added,
too.
because then another one of my questions is connected to the dollar, but I don't know. I think there's something else with Jamie we should ask. I think his knowledge will be indicative of kind of where we're going. I don't think the market is revealing the truth right now. That's why I want to read him. Like, he knows what the truth is. Is the market currently being falsely propped up?
Interesting. It's being bled.
Yeah, that was my gut. That the most people that have their money in the market don't see what's happening, but the elite are bleeding it
Right.
to take what is there, well, before it tanks, but it's being artificially propped up
Yep.
to keep the illusion going.
Yeah, the witch is drawing the blood from the tree.
Yeah.
From the
So
money tree. Yeah, it's literally being bled.
and what will be um I don't know what the next question would be. It's being bled, and will it recover? Or maybe we can move on to my other question with the impact of the dollar.
Yeah. So what specifically would you like to talk about the dollar?
Okay. So the question is, what will the impact of the end of the petrodollar be on US dollar? And the petrodollar, just to remind you, is the 50-year agreement we had with Saudi Arabia to trade oil only in US dollar, which essentially made the US dollar the global reserve currency. And now countries can purchase Saudi oil in whatever currency they want. So China can purchase it in their currency, which then reduces the need for the US dollar. And what happens? Do other countries then sell off their dollar? Ooh, that doesn't look fun.
I'm going to pull one more just so we have an X, Y, and Z axes here. Okay.
Ooh.
Well, this is such an interesting mix. So we've got a Knight of Wands, and this might be talking about some military something something. But it probably is an energy that moves quickly. And the magician, I guess this what it would show is diversity, because the magician here, they have the little coin, but they also have a sword, a cup, and a wand. So there would be some sort of diversity that would be happening, and the tower would show a collapse. Um, so what it would do to like the dollar itself, maybe the dollar would split into some different things.
Like cryptocurrencies?
Maybe, or and I know there's been some talk about that anyway, like the digital currency, but it looks like maybe it would force. Well, what's really happening in the magician, the person is on stage, right? And they're showing all of the different skills that they have. So it might force America to show all of their different skills and powers. Now, ultimately, from what I understand, which is very little, but the actual value of the US dollar is based on the fact that our military can blow people up, right? It's like you're going to say that this is worth something, or we will invade you, or whatever, you know. And this might be more of a, it's not necessarily a show of force, though, I don't think. It's like being on stage, and it looks like a show of diversification. But the tower would show a collapse, and the Knight of Wands, I think it would be somehow connected to military action, and it would happen quickly. So probably bad, you know,
Yeah.
all the way around.
Well, yeah, that's that's the US's only export, right? That was the agreement with Saudi Arabia, that if they would trade oil only in US dollars for 50 years, we would provide them military service. We'd protect their border, we would give them arms.
Oh,
And now that it doesn't, like, that agreement doesn't exist anymore, A, how does Lockheed Martin and Raytheon make money? How do they have their quarter over quarter returns if we're not the military power?
right.
I mean, that's why we have endless wars, right? It's the
Right.
military industrial complex. They make so much money. It's our greatest export. It's our only export. It's the only thing America does great.
Yeah, they invade people and
Yeah.
give people the means to, blow other people up.
Hmm.
Well, and we have Hollywood. So we have those two things.
Yeah, and both of those are going underwater quickly. Hopefully, Hollywood.
I'm pretty sure that all of this is bad though. As far as normal life goes.
Bad for Americans or bad
Bad
for
for
their
people.
countries?
Yeah, yeah. Well, really both, but
Any humans that are not a part of Lockheed Martin or the industrial military?
exactly. Or any humans that happen to be in the line of fire of wherever, the military action is going to take place.
Where's that Knight of Wands headed to? Do you have a
Let's
card
see.
that is going towards the banks?
So a reverse Queen of Pentacles. So the Queen of Pentacles is generally someone who they take care of their children. And here's the children. They're very generous, they're very giving. Now, this is it would show a country that is in some sort of financial turmoil. Normally they can take care of their people, but here they become dependent on their people. So it would show an attack to a country that, or at least military force going toward a country that is struggling economically. Holy shit, that might be America, actually. You know,
Yeah.
that might be a different military coming at America.
Oh,
If
oh,
the dollar gets fucked up,
okay. Well, then that's a good setup for my next three questions. I have four questions left. I'm going to leave my hero for last, my hero question. But the next three, I'll ask them independently. Um, well, I guess what is the reason for Russian ships in Cuba? Is it just training exercises, as they say, is the media is portraying it, or is there?
Interesting. So we have an Ace of Cups and an Ace of Swords. Okay. So what is the thing that kind of binds these together here? And the King of Wands. Wow. So so this would basically say the Ace of Cups is kind of the source of fulfillment, the root source of fulfillment. The Ace of Swords is taking full responsibility and therefore having full control over what is happening to you. Um, so here we're showing being satisfied and also just uh, taking control of a situation and not allowing yourself to be dependent on anyone else. And the King of Wands is showing kind of the leading by example. So here, the Russian ships being in Cuba would be what that is for is so the Russians could set the example for how to take control.
Yeah, and they are. Yeah. And will they? So right now, it's just like they're flexing.
Yes. And
Some of
like,
the missiles on the submarine, I think, can travel 2,000 kilometers. The high length ones can travel at max 2,000 kilometers, which from where they're located would reach Chicago, New York, DC. A huge impact. Not everyone hit like Portland, or would they attack? Are they planning to attack?
so
Or
here, I pulled this card for that question. Like, are they going to use these missiles? And we get a reverse page of wands. Now, the page is one of the children of the king. So it's from the same family. Now, keep in mind, this is also a card that showed up when we were looking at the Jamie Dimon. So there's some financial something something in there. But here, the reverse page of wands, it would be if the United States fucks with one of Russia's children,
Mm.
then they would use it, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
And
but we
wouldn't
would
that be Ukraine? No.
well, theoretically,
Wouldn't that be Crimea? I mean, we just U.S.
probably, probably yes. Uh, uh, let's just see now the Russian parts of Ukraine, or where it's mostly populated by ethnic Russians, right? I'm very sure that that would be Page of Wands, right? That would be Russia's children. Now, what I want to find out is if the parts that are not ethnic Russian in Ukraine would fall under that same um, category, right? And an Eight of Wands. So this would show a bunch of energy that has grown over a long period of time and it gets harvested real quickly. This wouldn't be a yes to me, but it would show a conditional trigger. So that they could be. I mean, some shit, let's say with Kiev, some shit that would happen there under certain conditions, and if they were given enough time to like make a plan, um, that might be something that they would respond to with these missiles, right? But I wouldn't say that the rest of Ukraine would be considered the children in the same way that the um, ethnic Russian parts would be. But I'm pretty sure Serbia would fall under that same umbrella as well. So if the United States fuck with Serbia, that even though they're not exactly a child of Russia, just some sort of strong ally like that or whatever.
Right.
But hopefully that doesn't happen. I mean, it would show like if we attack Russia's family, then they would respond.
Mm-hmm. So basically, they're stationed in Cuba on guard as a base.
Yep. Yeah. And just so, like Putin or Russia or Moscow or however you would want to say that can take control and that they can be like fulfilled on some level, it makes sense. So they wouldn't just be playing victims or whatever. It's like a way that they can take control in a way that they can show other people how to do that.
Yep.
Which, as an American, that's scary, but it makes sense.
As an American, as a human, and the injustice is
Yeah.
like something
As a human of Earth, it makes sense. As someone that lives in America, like, maybe that's not so great. But
yeah. Okay, so then I don't know if this seems just kind of like a one-off. Will Russia and or China, are they planning to interfere with the U.S.?
good old election interference. And yes, together too.
Yeah.
I mean, literally together. So, yes, and together. They're a tag team.
Mm-hmm. And probably North Korea too, I'm sure, is in the mix.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, everybody, including the American government, interfering with the election. But let's just see the magnitude, how strong it is. And we get that little Page of Swords again. So here, I mean, the Page of Swords is really good at sort of zeroing in on one thing. They find what they look for. So the Page of Swords, it just shows that it would be what we see, what people see is what they would try to manipulate, right? And I mean, this is already true with partisanship. You know, there are people who didn't come out of that last presidential debate thinking that Biden did poorly, and that can only be like partisan brainwashing. You know what I mean? The only way that you could come out of it that way would be if you were specifically looking for him to be fine. And that's, but that would be the kind of energy that this is showing. Warping people's visions or trying to get them to look for very specific things and then find those specific things.
But it's so easy. Even if you, like, I'm self-aware as I'm scrolling through Twitter, and I'll form an opinion, and all of a sudden I'll get something else that's slightly altered, and I'll notice myself questioning what I just believed in. It's like
Right.
this whole thing is just a mass manipulation. I don't know what to trust anymore.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe anything. But as you say, everything is a manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, so kind of connected, but a little off that. Will Washington, D.C. look different near or after this next election? The politicians and the place. Maybe not like Democrat, Republican. It's like, will it look different?
holy smokes. All right, I need the third one here. Oh, I don't know which one of these it is.
Like, will there be a missile? Will it be a whole new system? Will it be collapsed?
So the Knight of Pentacles would show patrolling soldiers, I'm pretty sure. So maybe something like martial law, but there would be a military presence or a patrolling soldier presence there. I'm fucking surprised that there isn't already, to be honest. You know, it's kind of hard for me to believe that there isn't. But that would be a thing. Now, the Ace of Pentacles. This would show, it's usually the card that shows up for people who start their own business. It would show a new opportunity, like some new thing that is being brought into existence. Um, in my mind, I kind of connect the Ace of Pentacles just because it's the Black Dragon. I kind of connect it to deep state and that sort of thing, but it would show some new universe about to be created, or at least the potential for a new universe to be created. And then the third, so we have all three coordinates, is the Ten of Swords. So the Ten of Swords is like when something was wrong and you knew it was wrong and you tried to avoid it and then it blew up in your face. So we have suffering here. So it looks like the patrolling soldiers would be there because something bad probably would have happened. But it would bring with it some new sort of opportunity or a whole new layer of something, shown in the Ace of Pentacles. Probably just military shit, you know, because that's usually where all the opportunity is. But looking at this, it looks like there would be a militarized layer that would happen over Washington, D.C. It would be heavily patrolled and guarded, but also, I think, because something bad would have happened. As if something bad didn't already fucking happen on January 6th, you know?
Yeah.
When it should have been patrolled, but wasn't. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It'll
it's
be
like either
interesting
way,
to see.
whoever gets elected or put into the presidential position, it's going to upset the other half of the country.
when this will be interesting to see when it plays out, because we really won't have to wait all that long to see like how this is going to show up.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to look back at these cards and
See what
see
they.
what they were talking about, you know.
Mhm. Yeah. Could it? Hmm. Can you get like a sense of what would bring in the military, or is that before? How would we phrase this? Because I asked before or after the election. So it could be before the election, the military is present,
Oh.
but then, well, I don't know. Huh.
Um, Boy. So here, I mean, to me right now, this is probably showing someone being buried. So this might be a freaking murder or something like that,
Assassination.
right? And the moon is straight up manipulation. Um, and I mean, if we go back to looking at election interference, I mean, all of that is manipulation coming from every possible direction. So I kind of wonder if this happens because of something like what happened on January 6th.
Right.
But that year, it had been happening all over the country for 6 months, like it did in Minneapolis.
Hmm.
Um, and this might be that sort of thing too. Actually, I'm just going to pull a card to see if this is because of widespread like looting or whatever. And we get the magician. So, well, it might fall in line with all of the financial stuff.
Hmm. Banks, you can't access money. You have no cash. People can't get their cash because the banks are closed. Total financial collapse. And they
If there,
and then the politicians have their bunkers. And even in
right,
Washington, they have tunnels that they can go down. They have their safety. They've already looted the system. They're bleeding the system right now. So they have cash. They probably have money in Swiss bank accounts. They could go away. They can get out of the system. But the rest of us that have no idea what's about to hit us won't be ready. Like having some
looking,
cash on the side is probably a good idea just in case the banks are frozen.
yeah, and having some food,
Some food. You can get buckets of like camping food. You just add hot water. Like
food
I
and
one that would,
blankets,
huh?
food and blankets,
Food and
and
blanket.
like tools. Those are the ultimate things, that can
Yeah,
get
I
you
got a
through.
pack of beeswax candles. I have this little like camp light that you put the beeswax candles in, and it serves as a lantern. But the top gets really hot, so you could put a little pot on it to boil water. It's super small. But then I have these like um, I don't know, emergency food supply. And if I don't use it, I'll go camping with it. But in worst case scenario, I'm not going out to the grocery store if everything collapses.
Yeah,
There's And if you have cash, then you can still barter in the system as it transitions.
yeah. I'll have to wait for some deer to run through, and then I'll jump on them. But even though I live in town, technically, I'm surrounded by forest,
Yeah.
so I'd be able to hunt a deer or something
Well,
probably.
and the interesting thing is, well, you and I, we're always okay, right? Like we know how to survive. We've always survived. So the system would actually not be much different for us.
Yeah,
Just not getting, don't get caught in the fear. Just be aware, like, nah, there's something afoot. Some like, how do I make sure I'm all right? Stay out of the chaos. But you'll be fine.
and with what showed up in there, I just hope that people, if there's some like massive call to action by any sort of fucking partisan anything. I hope people are smart enough not to do it.
Yeah,
You
they're
know,
not though. They're not though.
they're not. No.
All right, so I have a final question, and it's my newfound hero that I discovered maybe 2 weeks ago. Congressman Thomas Massey of Kentucky. His wife died suddenly 7 days ago. My question is, was Thomas Massey's wife murdered?
Okay. Okay. And we'll pull one more to have all of the coordinates here. All right. So no, it
No.
looks like the answer is no. Um, there's a bunch of, so this looks like blood stuff, maybe just because it's showing up as a cups card and there's a bunch of emotional stuff. Then we have a lot of pressure here that shows in the seven of swords. It's like pressure to perform or something, but it shows. Now, what usually happens here, so the jester who does tricks, people are looking at him and he's like, well, I better do a trick because people are looking at me. And he whips out these swords and he's trying to do a trick, but that rope is frayed. That rope is about to break because he didn't have time to actually go through this and plan it. And here he ends up swallowing the sword. I think that, I mean, honestly, it was probably a fucking vaccine thing, but it shows pressure and something about blood probably. And here the nine is about not losing hope, but it's kind of being trapped in some basement too. If I put all of it together, the short answer is no. I do not believe that she was killed. I think that her system was being taxed too much.
Hmm.
There was too much pressure put on her body for some reason.
Hmm. Yeah, I
From
don't know much
whatever.
about her, but yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah. I would say, yeah, no, on whether or not she was murdered. It's very suspicious, but it looks like that is not the case.
Hmm.
It was some other kind of thing.
Okay, thank you. And I actually do have one last question, and it's kind of a cherry on the top. In what will the humans of this place, anywhere, everywhere, what will it look like in the year 2026? Will we be in a new space and have walked out of all this chaos?
Okay, so a six of swords is showing moving away from the burning city of conflict. Well, that's interesting. So we get the seven. So we get the six and the seven of swords. Now, this is showing a very clear progression of the sword's energy. And here we have trying to move away from conflict, which means that there would have been enough conflict that we had to move away from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there would also be pressure put on us probably to fucking start another conflict. But when this thing, specifically when it's upside down, it can be about trying to plan, you know, trying to make sure that the ropes are not frayed. So looking at these two, and it is a natural progression of energy. And it would have to do with mental energy. So it would be like a natural progression of people going through the steps after having been filled with conflict and essentially had all this pressure put on them and kind of had their heads fucked with. But here it might be specifically planning to try to keep from swallowing the sword. But it looks like people will be trying to mentally separate themselves from all of the bullshit that just happened. Which is hopeful, kind of,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Well, and that's where the growth takes place after you're beaten down and you no longer want to be in attack mode or angry at the world.
As far as the natural progression, there's a period of healing in the Eight of Swords, which would, theoretically come after that. And let's see if we can find our 9 and 10 of Swords in here, just because I might as well. But in the Eight of Swords, this is pretty much about a period of healing. It's when you can't really do too much, because it's like, if you have stitches in your arm or something, you can't really go throwing a football because it's going to rip out your stitches. So there would be a period when people would have to chill because they couldn't do anything else. They would be too mentally kind of fucked up from all the stuff that had just happened. And then, so eventually we do have that 10. I'm trying to find the 9 of Swords just so I can show the progression of the energy really well.
Right.
And I keep going through these things and not finding it. There it is. All right. So according to what we have here in the progression of energy, so what would be waiting in store would be a period of healing, more anxiety and worrying about things that we couldn't do anything about, and ultimately feeling the pain of all the shit that had happened.
No, it sounds super fun.
Yep. So in the progression of tarot energy,
Yeah.
we're going to be mentally fucked for a while.
Yeah. Okay, I need another question, sorry.
Okay.
And this could just be a yes or no. Will the population be significantly less by 2026?
Oh yeah, I've heard a few theories about that.
Will there be a drastic decline in the human population?
Well, there that is again. Pressure to do so, at least. There would be pressure for the population to decline. And there already is, but it would show a lot of pressure to have less people.
Okay, what does the universe want us to hold on to keep going through all this? What is the light? What should we be looking for? Yeah, the sun. It's just life.
Yeah, and the sun is, now this is interesting because of what came out on the bottom. So I'm going to get rid of this real quick. So in the 5 of Pentacles, so this person is exiled. They have no money. They're like homeless. They're also naked, just like the 2 figures that are in the sun. But they're naked because they're hiding nothing. In this case, they can't hide anything. They're being surveilled and they can't even afford clothes, right? But they do. There's the surveillance here, and here's this naked woman walking around on the street, and she's like, I'm not going into the church, I'm not dealing with their bullshit, I'm just going to figure this out myself. Now the sun, the figures are once again naked, but they are shamelessly expressing themselves, and they're also being very open to other people as they do the same thing. It's showing that the universe would want us not to hide anything, to be free, not to hide behind masks, and not to like hide behind walls of secrets and that kind of thing. Just to shamelessly be who we are and not apologize. Shameless truth. But here,
That's what I think. That's incredible because I think that's what's getting destroyed. All the lies and all the secrets, all of that seems to be coming to light, which is shocking to see
well,
that truth.
and the thing is, because of the technology, there are no secrets, right? We feel like we have secrets, but there's cameras, there's fucking microphones everywhere. If somebody really wants to access your life, they can do it,
Mhm.
and the government damn sure can, and of course they do it whenever they feel like and it's not just our government, it's every government, and it's every organization that has the resources to do it you know
But I
the
think more
dark
people are.
web.
There's a higher spiritual form taking place too, where people are remote viewing. There's a higher sense of intuition. People can do tarot readings to find out like energy around things. So I think there's an opening around our ability to tap into these things without having the surveillance. Like there's an innate ability to tap into some of this to find what's true.
Yeah, I would agree with that. um, but it's also true that there's so much surveillance that there are no secrets anyway.
Right. I could hack. I mean, you could learn how to hack a system, and I could find all the government secrets.
Right. And that is the difference between the five of pentacles and the sun. The sun is just about being free, not keeping secrets to begin with.
Yep. Yep.
And the five is about being surveilled to the point where there are no secrets anyway.
Yep.
And both are true, but it's it, like one, the person it has no power, and the other one, they have power.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like you allow the government to have power over you when you're trying to keep secrets and then they have info on you. When you don't have any of the secrets and you're just authentic and you're trying to be the most bright light, they have nothing on you. So you can
Right.
be out open.
Yeah. And hopefully it would be a massive reversal of what has been happening, just in, I guess, the last like 10 years. But when people get to the point where they can accept other people's truth, without having to mold them into their own shape, that would be amazing too.
Yeah, without so much judgment and hatred. And
Right.
I think that it comes from lack. You're judging people because you want that. And it's really based on the monetary system. Like, well, they have more than I do and I don't like them. And if that whole thing collapses, oh, so will the judgment. You'll have to just like, how do we really try to understand other people without judgment, without criticism, all their quirks?
Indeed. And I mean, hopefully, oh, there's my face.
There you are.
Hopefully, that is a thing that can happen. But here, it looks like if the universe has a message for us, it is to be free and to be just to not feel like we have to cover ourselves, that we have to hide. And it definitely has been a thing. Cancel culture and all this stuff where people are afraid to be who they are and people are afraid to speak their truth. Um, and hopefully that is a thing that fucking goes away.
It looks like it's going to.
Hopefully so. Yeah. So that is what we get. We covered a lot of ground.
We did, and we're hitting just an hour, so we should probably wrap this up. And
Wow, it would fit neatly into an hour. So there we have it. And hopefully we will do this frequently. And that's what we get for today. If you have your own ideas of any of the cards that you've seen, feel free to leave a comment or let me know or whatever. And that's what we have for now. Peace.